All right, check this out, guys. I am actually going to be replacing this with this. So I've been a huge fan of DJI drones for a long time now. Really since the Phantom 3 came out, I have owned or used just about every drone that they put on the market since then. And while this wasn't exactly my dream drone, I really do think that it connects the dots from portability, price, quality, just about perfectly. I mean, look at this. This is the first drone that I'd say looks and feels like a second generation product. This isn't just a mechanical masterpiece. It looks nice, it feels nice, it works perfectly for exactly what it's designed for. If you watch my review on the DJI Spark, I did take some issue with the fact that while it was an incredibly small drone, it just didn't fold up, and so it ended up taking more room in my bag than my Mavic Pro, and that just didn't feel right to me. I felt like I wasn't utilizing the space-saving features of this small drone. Well, now with this thing, I mean, this is just incredibly small, and it folds up even smaller. You can take this thing with you anywhere. I will say that the propellers on this feel a little bit more delicate just because they're not foldable. However, I do appreciate that this gimbal right here is completely encased on all three sides. Unlike the Mavic Pro, which was a little bit more delicate, I think this is going to last a lot longer. So the remote is basically the same as the Spark remote, and overall that's a good thing. I'm glad we finally have this included in the box. That was a big thing on the Spark, is that you didn't have the remote. I really think that these are a must have with these DJI drones. Sure, you can fly them with gestures in the phone, but the experience just is not good enough to me. You're gonna want this thing, and thankfully it's included. Now, I'll say a couple things about it. Something new is that you do the sports mode on here. You also have these removable joysticks, and these joysticks are great because you can actually take those off and store them right in here. So portability is a little bit better on this, and that's a nice feature to have. I mean, thank you, DJI, for actually including an extra one inside the box, because these things are so easy to lose. I managed to lose one already, but yes, you do have an extra one. Now, another kind of negative is that you actually charge this thing with micro USB, which would be fine, except that the drone actually plugs in with a USB-C cord if you want to download your footage from that to your computer. So micro USB cable to this, and a USB-C for the drone. And if you're an Apple user, that doesn't help you at all because you probably have none of those cables around. And so, yeah, I wish they just stuck with USB-C for both. It would have been a nice feature to have, being able to use that for the drone as well as to charge the remote. But overall, it's a big improvement. I like it a lot. I mean, getting your phone is a little bit of struggle sometimes, but we're really grasping at straws there. It's a good design. Gestures have always been kind of hit and miss for me. I guess it worked pretty well on this drone. I really think that's the most useless part of it. It's what made me hate the Spark so much, because I felt like that was kind of the standout feature that they were pushing in that drone. And really, it's kind of a gimmick. I used it once to show off to friends, and then that's about it. It's really more convenient in just about every time to actually pull out your phone and fly it with that. And you can use your phone, and that's kind of a benefit. I mean, your range is going to be limited to maybe about 200 feet in most cases, but it can be nice if you forgot your controller to have that kind of option of just using the remote control on your phone. I do have a love-hate relationship with the quality of this drone. I mean, on one hand, you're getting these incredible perspectives, just some unique shots being in the drone, flying in the air, and having this cool camera on there. You're able to get some stuff that just looks amazing just because of what it is and how unique it is. However, the quality itself is just really not much better than most phones. We haven't seen any big improvements in quality overall since the Phantom 3, really 4K. And you know, it's starting to show its age now. The dynamic range is really horrible. It's not doing a lot of internal processing to make that better. You do have auto HDR, but I really didn't find it that perspective. You can shoot RAW, which is nice on this. But overall, I mean, low light ability is really non-existent. Anything over 400 ISO just doesn't look good. And then just like most phones, we do not have an adjustable aperture. And so that is going to mean you're gonna need some ND filters if you're flying this thing for video. These right here, these Polar Pro ND filters, this is their Cinema series. These are my favorite go-to filters for this thing. If you need some, if you get this drone, you're gonna need some ND filters to be able to shoot video, because you're gonna wanna get that shutter speed right at about a 50th of a second if you're shooting 24p. And in order to do that in bright light like this, you are definitely gonna need probably like an ND16 in these kind of conditions. So these are a must-have, and unfortunately these can get a little bit more expensive, like 50 bucks to 100 bucks depending on the kit you can get. But these, you absolutely need some of these. And this particular series comes with polarizers, which are great as well if you're shooting water and reflections. But yeah, it's just unfortunate we still don't have that on a drone like this. If you go up to their Phantom 4 Pro, that's when you get your larger sensor with the better quality and also an adjustable aperture, but we still don't have it in this. On the positive side of things, DJI drones have always suffered with detail because they were just so limited on the bit rate, especially during 4K recording. Well, now we can actually shoot 4K 30 frames per second at 100 megabits per second, which really makes a massive difference when shooting around trees and grass compared to like the Mavic Pro and Phantom 3. Another crazy feature is this slow motion, which goes up to 120 frames per second, and you will see some loss in detail, but it's still pretty usable and it's a major step up. The Air also has an auto HDR mode, but honestly I didn't find it much better than shooting RAW and pushing things in post, other than maybe slightly cleaner shadows. It's certainly not up to what standard modern day phones like the Pixel 2 are delivering. You also can't change your exposure settings while recording video, which honestly can get pretty annoying, and when every second counts, it's something that I just hated dealing with, so plan on having to start and stop recording pretty often. Probably the best feature on the Air has got to be these automatic flight modes. I mean, you've got sensors on the front, bottom, and back, and DJI is putting those to incredible use on these things with so many automated modes. Those are really just things that are unduplicated on virtually every other drone on the market. And then we also have that sports mode, which is shooting this thing at over 40 miles per hour. And that is, it makes it so much fun to fly. You can really get just some really cool shots with it as well. It almost looks like a helicopter in some shots. But in addition to that, if you're shooting somewhere like 1,000, 2,000 feet away, which I am all the time, getting to there is just so much faster, being able to just knock this with the remote into sports mode, and real quick you are taking off and flying to that target really quickly. When you're done with the shoot, you can be back in just seconds. It is a huge improvement, and I really appreciate that such a small drone is able to fly that fast, and it's also really good in the winds. I mean, I'm flying with 15-mile-an-hour winds all the time, and being here in Florida, we're all over the ocean all the time, and this drone handled it probably better than most others, and that's really amazing considering how small this thing is. You do have a ton of other flight modes as well, like boomerang, and all of which, I mean, they're so much fun to use, but I'll caution you a little bit. You really have no control over the height and distance of these functions, and then all of these ones that are moving around in a circle pattern, you have no side sensors on these DJI drones, and so you're just more capable of hitting obstacles with them. And you know, if you have anything within a couple hundred feet of you, you just might not want to use them. I pretty much hit a tree just about every time I used it, so I really just had a hard time finding an open area that was good enough to use them without worrying. Some of the other features have been really kind of hit and miss for me. I was able to use the panoramic mode, which worked fine in the drone, stitch together everything perfectly, but if I wanted to pull those images into Photoshop and do the stitching there, it just could not do it automatically. So maybe we don't have enough overlap in the pictures, but this was kind of a bummer. And there were also a few times that I had to recalibrate the compass. I got a compass error very often, and I had to recalibrate it every time before flying. Active track is also much better than before, and I would say it's more reliable, but it's still not perfect. It can lose objects fairly easily, and because of this, you know, it just makes me too nervous to put the controller down and track myself. It works on occasions, but I really still feel like you need to be at the wheels with a controller in your hand. There are more traditional modes like the point of interest and waypoints and tons of other flight modes, although there are some modes that have also been removed like course lock and home lock, which kind of allowed you to pan the camera without changing your flight direction. I'm really hoping that DJI brings those back because I actually use those quite often. And DJI, whoever thought of putting 8 gigs of included storage on this drone, Somebody needs a raise for that. That is the coolest thing ever. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten to my location with a drone and realized I pulled out the micro SD card and forgot it. And micro SD cards are something that are not used in most of my other cameras, and they're things that I just don't have stocked around. And so it was amazing having that. The first time I flew this, I actually flew it without a SD card because I just gotten the drone in. I didn't even need to get my card. I was able to just take it out and fly it right away. That is so cool. It's unbelievable. I wish every device had it. Big shout out to whoever thought of that. So let's talk about some negatives. I mean, it doesn't have a log profile, which some would see it as a negative. I don't think it's that big of a deal in a drone like this. You got to spend more money and get like the Mavic Pro or the Phantom 4, something like that if you want that feature. I'm good with it. However, something I would like is charging over USB-C. We have this charging port right here and it's USB-C capable. However, even though we have the same voltage battery as a Spark, and even though the milliamp hours are something like the A7R3, which is chargeable over USB-C, we don't have that ability. It would be nice to be able to just juice up a little bit on the go, and you have to get a wall adapter or use their, which is kind of large, their wall adapter, or get something like the car adapter that they sell to be able to do that on the go. So I do wish we had that. Now let's talk battery life. I mean, you're quoted like 21, 22 minutes flight time, which I think for the size of this drone is actually pretty good. But what to keep in mind is that you can't run these things until 0%. So at 20%, it's gonna start shouting off warnings to you, and you're really gonna wanna stay pretty close in distance. You're not going to want this thing far away once it hits that 20% battery mark. So you might be able to fly it a little bit more, but if you're flying a little bit further away, you're going to need to bring this back pretty early in that process. And so, yeah, if you're trying to do something that's maybe 1,000, 2,000 feet away, get some really good shots of that, it's going to be really hard to do with these smaller batteries. And you can get the Fly More combo, which comes with 2 or 3 batteries actually on that one. I think I recommend it because these batteries are pretty expensive, about 80 bucks a pop on that. And I really do think you're going to need at least 2 or 3 to get through kind of a normal shoot on that one. And then the third thing I'll talk about is range. I mean, this thing is quoted at 2.5 miles, and I think that's ridiculous. I don't know why DJI quotes some BS comment like that, when in reality, most people are gonna be stuck. I got interference usually about 1,500, 2,000 feet. However, at that point, your drone is really out of sight, and that's really further than you should be flying your drone, and really further than most of the time I would ever fly a drone. But if you're gonna quote me 2.5 miles, you better be able to deliver something even close to that. Being able to get like 2,000 feet in a normal neighborhood or in a normal area from a drone that's quoted 2.5 miles, I think is stupid. So keep in mind, if you get this, drone range is gonna be really limited. I wouldn't expect anything more than that. And maybe if you're in line of sight and in the middle of nowhere, you might get a little further than that, but don't expect anywhere near that 2.5 miles. So DJI, if you're gonna do something like that, I don't care. If this has a 3,000, 4,000 mile or feet range, put that on there, but don't quote me 2.5 miles and then deliver something far less. We gotta talk about asteroid mode because this is just so much fun to use. I mean, the camera flies away from you shooting video, takes a series of images, takes like a minute, stitches a panoramic and combines them, and I mean, the results just look unbelievable. This is such a unique perspective and something that's just unduplicated in anything else. This is the reason that DJI is the best drone company around. It is so good about creating these unique flight experiences, and this makes this drone just really one step above anything else in the market. I mean, this drone is spot on with the kind of features and range and size and everything that you're getting with this drone for this kind of price. I really think that it's unbeatable. So sure, I take some little issues with things like the cabling and not being able to charge and things like that, but you know, those are very minor annoyances. I do not appreciate being gypped on the range, and that's really the only thing. However, in reality, I'm probably not flying more than 2,000, 3,000 feet anyway. And the quality on this thing is pretty good. It's not exactly what I was hoping for. We haven't seen any major improvement on the quality on this, unfortunately, in a lot of years. However, it's still great, getting some unique shots, and this is a fun drone. I mean, being able to fly this thing at 40 miles an hour in that sport mode, it is just the overall, it's the most fun I've ever had flying a drone, and it fits in your pocket. It's something that's so portable. The automated flight modes are amazing. Asteroid mode is just incredibly cool, and it'll probably get old sometime soon, but for now, it's just so much fun to be able to capture these unique perspectives. There really is nothing better on the market right now, especially in that sub $1,000 range. If you need something better quality, unfortunately, you have to go for those bigger market drones with something like a Phantom 4. They do have those available And if you need that larger 1-inch sensor, that's what you're gonna go for right now. But overall, the market that DJI is aiming for, I really think that they hit the nail on the head. If you do want a drone that's delivering you good quality, and especially with these flight modes, and nobody else is coming anywhere close to what DJI is doing with this automation. You do have gesture control, you can control it with your phone. Overall, it's just a sweet drone because it gets me something that nothing else on the market does and something that fits in my pocket. So check out the links below. I appreciate you guys supporting me by using those. Please like and subscribe. Stay tuned. I'm hoping to get some awesome videos coming up real soon, so stay tuned for a whole lot more and some really cool shots from this Mavic Air.